Most rock drumming is all about the backbeat on 2 and 4, but Cream's Sunshine of Your Love doesn't play by the rules. Ginger Baker flips the groove completely on its head, and somehow it makes the song feel even heavier. This is one of the most famous rock songs ever recorded, and the crazy part is Ginger wasn't even thinking like a rock drummer.
He really considered himself a jazz drummer, he told me that.
We could hear the jazz part in Ginger's playing, because things were not like stiff.
He would often flip things around.
It was kind of strange because it seemed like he was playing backwards.
Ginger was a nut, dude. He was a nut.
His personality, I know more than his drumming. That guy was insane.
The general public are so dumb.
Ginger Baker, I mean, what?
They don't make him like that anymore.
You know, he's out of his mind, but his parts are really good though, man.
He was a personality, for sure.
And he was crazy, you know, wild looking. So to me, I was always kind of enamored with the visual side of things as well.
Insane, literally and figuratively.
Ginger's love of jazz obviously had that real crossover.
He brought it, you know.
Yeah.
He was like very animalistic playing, you know.
This is the story of how a jazz drummer who disliked most rock music helped shape its future. Let's dive in.
It was Ginger Baker who had persuaded the other two to combine their differing talents. It was also Ginger Baker who enabled the other two to develop their free-form playing.
The supergroup Cream formed in 1966 when Ginger Baker convinced Eric Clapton to start a new band. At least according to Ginger, this is how it went down.
So I got fed up with Graham. Graham was going in the opposite direction to what I was going, and I decided that I wanted to get my own band together. And the first person that came to mind was Clapton. So I turned up in Oxford, where Eric was playing with John Mayall. So after the gig, I said to Eric, you know, I'm getting a band together. Would you like to join the band? And he said, yeah, straight away.
They brought in bass player Jack Bruce, even though Ginger and Jack can't stand each other.
Ginger fired me from the Graham Bond band, but I refused to be fired, you know, because he wasn't even the band leader.
Jack and I had several altercations. I went, I really don't know, but you're right, he's a good bass player.
These guys fight constantly, but musically, they have insane chemistry. In 1967, Cream is trying to move beyond blues music and experiment with something heavier and more psychedelic. One night, Jack Bruce comes back from seeing Jimi Hendrix in London and starts playing this bass riff. At the same time, Pete Brown is sitting in the room writing lyrics while the sun starts coming up, and that's where the famous opening line comes from.
It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd been writing all the time for hours and hours and hours and hours, and we were really getting fed up with each other as well. And then suddenly Jack, in desperation, grabbed his double bass. I still remember, this is actually true, I mean, he actually did this. He grabbed his old double bass, you know, and said, what about this? And played this riff. And I went, looked out the window and it's getting light, you know, so I said, it's getting near dawn.
Eric Clapton adds the chorus section later, and suddenly Cream knows they've got something special. But there was one problem. When they tried playing the song like a straight rock tune, it just didn't work. He tells the guys to slow it down and puts a backwards drum beat on the riff, and it all clicks.
Jack brought it in as going ding back, diddy back. That's where Jack's head is writing. And I said, man, that's terrible. Why don't you slow it down and play it backwards?
There's other stories of how this all went down, but this is a Drumeo video, so in this case, we're gonna side with Ginger Baker.
Being a drummer, it's just listening to how unique at that time that the drumming was. It blew me away.
By slowing it down and emphasizing beats 1 and 3, they created this super heavy song that would be a blueprint for bands coming down the line. Most rock drummers emphasize beats 2 and 4. That's what we call the backbeat, and it gives rock music that forward momentum. But Ginger Baker does the exact opposite. He leans into beats 1 and 3, playing a tribal sounding groove on the toms, and this is why Ginger's drum part sounds unlike anything else. Using the toms in a melodic way wasn't something that was new to Ginger.
Ginger Baker? The candlestick maker? The other Ginger Baker. Oh, sorry.
He's a lot of the reason why some people started incorporating a lot of tom work into their verses and stuff to build a beat, not just using kick, hi-hat, snare. We thank you, Ginger Baker, for your service.
It just grooved in a dancey way. And a lot of his stuff sounded really tribal to me. I could tell that he listened to a lot of African drumming. You know, he spent a lot of time on the toms, the 2 bass drums. And
another drum that played great tribal drum parts, and you know, he was in a whole different realm there.
Just raw, very tribal. You hear the African influence in there, a lot of toms.
The way that he's able to mix African rhythms in sort of this psychedelic manner, I don't think it had really been done before.
This all started in 1959 when Ginger met his drum hero.
Phil was just the most amazing drummer. He's the only drummer at that time that brought tears to my eyes.
Ginger was 19 years old and he took a drum lesson with Phil, which was pretty wild and drug-fueled based on how he describes it in his book. Phil puts on a record and tells Ginger to count. He started counting an 1/8 note pulse. Phil corrects Ginger and starts tapping a slower dotted quarter note pulse in 12/8. And Ginger says, "I joined in and for the first time I felt the pulse of Africa." This was a breakthrough moment for Ginger that would lead to his obsession with African rhythms and tribal grooves. He says after that lesson, he even started practicing his 12/8 rhythms while he walked in 4/4. Those African rhythmic ideas became the foundation of Ginger's entire approach to the drums. And without a love for jazz music and the drummers who played it, he never would have had that exposure. In his autobiography, he thanks his 4 drum heroes specifically: Phil, Art, Max, and Elvin. Believe it or not, a lot of the drummers who came up through the 60s and 70s, like Phil Collins, John Bonham, and Bill Ward, they also had backgrounds in jazz. We dig into this in Legends of the 70s with Chad Smith, where he dives into Keith Moon, Bill Ward, John Bonham, and Ian Pace's drumming, and you'll learn how a lot of legendary rock grooves, fills, and techniques originally came from jazz. The full course is on the Musora app, and you can grab a free trial below this video to start the course. Once Ginger landed on that backwards drum beat, the stage was set for him to start improvising and moving around the drum kit. By 1967 standards, Ginger sounded like he was playing drums from another planet. Some of the fills feel almost out of control, but he always lands back on beat 1.
Man, the grooves and just carelessness he had about the drums. That's how I like to think of it, because you just did whatever he wanted, and the fills he had were just so like out there. And he actually did a clinic at MI one time when I was a teacher there, and I went down to see it. And it was amazing because Ginger's one of those 100% feel guys. You know, the students were asking him, like, how do you explain this? Is this an 8th note or 16th note? And he's like, I don't know. It's just he's a roly-poly and you play some, and he's literally mouthing what he's playing. And it was the most amazing thing ever because he literally plays from 100% feel and whatever comes out of him. And those drum parts completely show that on all those little Cream songs.
Around the 30-second mark, Ginger starts filling out the main tom groove with some drum fills, and these move all the way across the toms and start descending in pitch. In the chorus, he modifies the main groove and starts adding in some big crash cymbals that line up with the main riff. And he also starts playing some more adventurous drum fills in between the different sections of the riff, and it starts to feel a little bit more chaotic at this part. But the main thing is, it still emphasizes beats 1 and 3, which matches that theme of the backwards drum groove that we talked about. Ginger's playing gets even more chaotic during the guitar solo where he moves a lot more around the toms, and this is where the drum kit really starts to feel like a lead instrument. It feels unpredictable, like you don't know where Ginger is going to go next. This kind of loose, improvisational tom playing would become a huge part of hard rock and heavy metal drumming into the 70s. The song became way bigger than Cream probably ever expected. It was Cream's highest charting US single, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Disraeli Gears was certified platinum, selling over 1 million copies. It helped push rock music into a heavier direction, and you can hear the blueprint for hard rock and heavy metal all over it. And the funny part is, Ginger Baker hated being associated with heavy metal.
If Cream did not invent heavy metal, they certainly were part of a band of brothers that were very instrumental in facilitating it.
The birth of heavy metal should have been aborted.
I remember one time doing a song called Fry Brain with my brother, and Steve Lukather was playing. Ginger was in the next room and recording with another band. And I said, Ginger, come check this out. It's a jazz fusion album I'm doing. And he came in and he heard the double bass, kind of Billy Cobham, or Alex Hot for Teacher thing. And he goes, I don't like metal. I said, well, this isn't metal. This is kind of like Billy Cobham fusion. It sounds like metal. I don't like metal. And he walked out of the room, and we're all going, Ginger, come back.
Ironic as it is, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1993, briefly reuniting with Cream.
I'll be very brief. Just thanks very much. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
He later made it clear he had little respect for the institution itself, because in his mind, he wasn't thinking like a rock drummer at all. He was blending jazz, blues, and African rhythms into something entirely his own. And that's why his drumming still feels different today.
Ginger Baker, another one of a kind. Like, they don't make them like that anymore. His tribal thing, I mean, again, another one of those English drummers that came from a jazz background. He really considered himself a jazz drummer. He told me that. Talk about personality, Keith Moon personality, like Ginger Baker personality, that's him. You know, I wouldn't want to, not as a person so much, but as a drummer, I admire him. Again, one of the drummers who brought the drum solo out to, at that time, doing Toad. Obviously, the double bass drum was a big thing for him. When I was first introduced to Ginger Baker, yeah, he just looked like insane.
I love Ginger Baker. He was one of the first rock drummers that I heard. I think my dad bought a Cream record, Wheels of Fire. We could hear the jazz part in Ginger's playing because things were not like stiff. At that time, I believe that all the great rock drummers were jazz drummers. Mitch Mitchell and Ginger Baker were the two that I listened to a lot. And they had a little bit of swing in the rock. You know, it wasn't but it had a little bit of that New Orleans-y kind of lope to it, which I really love that because it gave the music a certain feel that just felt not robotic.
Yeah, he's just absolutely unbelievable. And what a character.
I met him and he was suitably grumpy, I have to say. I mean, he is a controversial character. There's a tech friend of mine that worked with him and he actually had some really very, very good things to say about him. So I guess, it depends when you caught him. If you caught him on a good day, it would have been sunshine of your love.
That guy, there's that documentary, which is great. Everyone should see that. The most unique drummer probably I've ever heard. And it's interesting to hear Clapton years later with different drummers. It's almost like some guys don't even approach those songs like he did. They just, you know what I mean? They might play it straighter.
Really, I mean, it's like a drum solo song. It's like if you just muted everything and just played the drums, like that would be a drum solo drum piece song because the drums are just, supporting this great song, but there's like a lot of moments where the drums just get to completely shine and just take over and be like the lead singer in just such a big song, which is cool to hear on the radio when you hear this like big song, but it's like all about this crazy drum stuff happening.
I was always into like the snare rolls. Like before I could afford like a good snare, and I used to just like crank it as tight as I could because of like how it felt and the rebound. It ended up obviously like sounding like a piccolo or something, but it made me feel like I was doing fills like in that song. Things I didn't realize when I first started is a lot of it is how you're playing it, and it's not just the recording of it, and like the drummer themselves had a lot to do with that. And I think that's a good example of that.
I knew Ginger pretty well. I was at his 50th birthday party. I was also at a party at his polo ranch up in North LA, but he could fly off the handle. He had a very, I never saw his temper, but I know that he beware Mr. Baker, he was definitely a stickler for stuff.
I mean, yeah, the energy and the steez of Ginger Baker. I mean, that guy just did not care. Like, he was just such a rebel in the drum world.
Yeah, it was different. It was really different, a really different approach that he had to the song. I can't say that I was a really big Ginger Baker fan, but he played well. The stuff that he played was significant.
Obviously, I'm British, so he's right up there with the British drummers. For me, are one of the best ever do it. I'm obsessed with drummers that have that sound that really bring that music alive. Like certain drummers, you put me in that environment, it's not going to sound like that band. It's just going to be like a poor version of. So yeah, Ginger, just what a legend.
I don't know, Ginger, he's one of those crazy drummers, but so legendary and will always be like, you know, a huge part of rock and roll. Cream, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years that they were a band, and they were like huge.
He's another one that had like this jazz style brought into rock for me. And it was like between him and Bonham and Moon, it was like, what a time to be alive, to be able to like see that go down. My dad would play that in the house a lot. And he was crazy, you know, wild looking. So to me, I was always kind of enamored with the visual side of things as well. You know, as a kid, I wanted to kind of be entertained in that way. I couldn't really comprehend at the time what insanity was actually happening here, so I needed to see something, and he was awesome.
For a guy named Ginger, he is spicy. He is a bit spicy. My favorite part about that song is Robert De Niro and Goodfellas.
Ginger Baker understood something a lot of drummers forget. Heaviness doesn't come from just playing louder or faster. It's an attitude, and sometimes it comes from going against the grain and playing what people might not expect. For all the criticism he received over the years, I love how Eric Clapton described a side of Ginger that many people missed. He gave the impression that he was fearless and would take anybody on. Sometimes he'd arch one eyebrow as if to say, "Who the hell do you think you are?" His very dry sense of humor, which I didn't really see until I got to know him, was also a surprising experience in itself. Because in truth, he is a very shy and gentle man, thoughtful and full of compassion. Now, down in the comments, let me know what you think about Ginger Baker and his drumming on Sunshine of Your Love, and I look forward to reading all of your comments once this video is posted. Also, if you want to dive into more legendary drummers from this era, there's a free trial link below this video for you to check out Legends of the 70s with Chad Smith on the Musora app. And with that, thank you so much for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.